Hello everyone, I am Rangeli Sierra, you can call me Ray Ray, and in this video I will be reading, this is a reading about the vocal organs. So let's start. Vocal organs, the major anatomical structures involved in the production of speech. A vocal organ is an anatomical structure of human vocal system. The major vocal organs consist of, from the bottom up, the lungs, the left lung and the right one, the diaphragm, the trachea, the larynx, the pharynx, the nasal cavity, and the oral cavity. Let's start with the lungs. Either one of the two organs that people and animals use to breathe air. The role of the lungs in this subject is being the initiator. They are the source of air stream, which can be aggressive or ingressive. So the lungs are not capable of moving themselves, but they expand and retract thanks to the movement of the diaphragm and the swinging of the rib cage. And the diaphragm is a large flat muscle that separates the lungs from the stomach area and that is used in breathing. Then we have the trachea. It's a long tube in your neck and chest that carries air into and out of your lungs. It's also called the windpipe. Do you know, like, the part in the trachea, like where it gets divided into left and right, this little thing right there, it's called carina. I don't know why I needed to say that. I used to study medicine before, so I'm sorry for that. Anyways, the larynx is the part of your throat that contains the vocal cords that is also called the voice box. The major vocal organs also contain the pharynx and the nasal cavity. The pharynx is the part inside your mouth where the passages of the nose connect to your mouth and throat. And the nasal cavity is the large air-filled space above and behind your nose in the middle of your face. Before continuing, I don't want to skip the fact that most people, including me of course, can get confused when making differences between the larynx and the pharynx. Like, I know there are two completely different structures. I'm just saying that they sound similar, so they are minimal pairs, and remembering them can get confusing, right? It's like, imagine that you are in an exam. It's not a personal experience, I swear, but you are in the middle of an exam, you are obviously nervous, what can I say, short time, unsure. Like, I am an overthinker myself, and I can get all the possible answers for the same question. And there is a moment that you just stay like, is this one or the other one? Like, you just don't know. And some people use writing it down, some people make like visual connections, or teaching someone else to learn, and I do all those things. But in these kind of situations, I personally need a short way to get the knowledge or to connect the dots. So a thing that I do is, like, the pharynx starts with ph, which is a phoneme. It reminds me of food. So you think like, oh, is the one that is related to the digestive system. I mean, is the one that connects the nasal cavity, the oral cavity, and then goes the larynx. And if you think about the larynx first, larynx starts with L. So it reminds me, when people are talking about music and singing and those kind of things, like la 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 la, and you're like, oh, that's the one that is called the voice box. It's related to those kind of things. It's stupid. I am stupid. If you don't need that, congratulations, Einstein, but I do. If you think that's useful, like, congratulations, Dumb and Dumber. Anyways, before I get more embarrassed, the one that is next, the vocal tract. So here we can see the vocal cords, the glottis, which is the opening between the vocal cords, the epiglottis, the back, the blade, and the tip of the tongue. And move on to the roof of the mouth. Here we have the uvula, the soft palate, the hard palate, and the alveolar ridge. And at the end, we have the lips and the teeth. Vocal cords, either of two folds of mucous membrane that extend across the interior cavity of the larynx and are primarily responsible for voice production. Sound is produced by the vibration of the folds in response to the passage between them of air itself from the lungs. Let's say that the vocal cords are the thin pieces of folded tissue in your throat that help you to make sounds with your voice. Then we have the glottis, the opening between the vocal cords in your throat, and the epiglottis at the upper part of the larynx is a flap-like projection into the throat. It's a cartilaginous leaf-shaped flap. Functions as a lid of the larynx and during the act of swallowing controls the traffic of air and food. Again, just to make sure. The first thing, glottis and epiglottis. Like, guys, epiglottis, epi is a prefix, and what it means normally, mostly, is on, over, on top, So the examples would be like epidermis, epiglottis, because I don't have another one. So while the epiglottis is a cartilaginous like flap on top of the glottis, that prevents the food from entering the larynx, the main like after that. So after the body decides, after the pharynx and the epiglottis decides if what is going through is air or food, and is air, then it comes the glottis, which opens into the windpipe and is responsible for the production of sound. If it's food, then it goes to the esophagus. So I don't know why I needed to do that again, but let's continue. So the roof of the mouth. We have the palate, which separates the mouth from the nasal cavity, allowing separate passages for air and for food. The roof of the mouth can be divided into three parts starting from the back. We have the soft palate or velum. It's a structure consisting of muscle and connective tissue that forms the roof of the posterior portion of the oral cavity. The soft palate plays an essential role in blocking food and other substance from entering the nasal passages during swallowing, and is important in the formation of certain sounds in speech production. And then we have the hard palate. It consists of an anterior hard palate of bone, which composes 2/3 of the total palate area, provides space for the tongue to move freely, and supplies a rigid floor for the nasal cavity so that pressures within the mouth do not close off the nasal passage. Since this part of the roof of the mouth is not capable of movement, its role is mainly of a place of articulation. Alveolar ridge in anatomy, the raised thickened the border extending from the maxilla, which is the upper jaw, and the mandible, which is the lower jaw, that continues the sockets for the teeth. Just not to forget, a small projection called uvula hangs free from the posterior of the soft palate. Then we have the tongue, the soft, movable part in the mouth that is used for tasting, and in human beings for speaking. It is an organ capable of various muscular movements located on the floor of the mouth. It plays a very important role in articulating both consonants and vowels, and the tongue is generally divided into parts for the sake of phonetic description. These parts are identified on the basis of their position, with respect to the roof of the mouth. We have the back, which corresponds to the velum, the blade, the part immediately under the hard palate, and the tip. When the tongue is at rest, this part is immediately below the alveolar. And after that, we have the lips, which are soft, pliable anatomical structures that form the mouth margin of most vertebrates, composed of a surface epidermis, skin, and connective tissue, and in typical mammals, a muscle layer. So either one of the two soft parts that surround the mouth. Lip action consists, at least in this subject, of spreading the lips, surrounding them, or maintaining them in a neutral position. What matters in a speech sound articulation is what are the lips, like are rounded or unrounded. And the teeth, like last but not least, a tooth, one of the hard white objects inside the mouth that are used for biting and chewing, and are generally a place of articulation. They interact with the tongue in dental sounds. Also, we have the interdental sounds and labial dentalization. So that was pretty much it. Most of my definitions you can find it in the website Britannica, and I use both the Encyclopedia Britannica and its dictionary, and in case you need, long or short definitions. And that was it. Thank you so much for watching, and sorry for my silliness. See you next time.